Hello and welcome to our Busy Center launch event for 2024 release Wave 1. We will talk about brand new feature sustainability inside the Busy Central. And before we start, let's first introduce ourselves. So, my colleague.
Yes, hello, my name is Vladimir Sinchuk and I work as a software engineer. I worked on this sustainability project.
Yeah, thank you, Vladimir. And my name is Alexander Totovic. I am product manager responsible for this functionality. Let's shortly explain what is our agenda for today. First, we will explain why we started with this feature at all, then our strategy and architecture about that. After that, I will show some basic foundational part, and then Vladimir will continue with full end-to-end demo. Okay. Why we started with this feature, why we need this feature at all. And before I start, I want to start with sustainability drivers. Okay, first of all, we want to be as greener as possible, and probably all of us, we want to leave a better planet for our children. But there are other business drivers for going into sustainability except only the social. So let's start with first. Very often we have customers who want to work only with, if not totally green, but as green as possible companies. Then further, we have very often investors and they are thinking very often that they do not want to invest for the future if company is not sustainable enough. Then very often now we have new generation and employees can choose company if based on their sustainability investment, not only on our profits. And the last but not the least are regulations. And now when we talk about regulation, we can split these four pillars or four drivers. First three, they are, let's say, voluntary. If we have this kind of customers, investors, employees, we need to take care about that. But if not, yes, we can still wait a few years to start to be more sustainable. But on the other side, if we have regulation, and regulation are forcing us to be more sustainable and to report it, this is not the question. We must go there. So let's look what we have about regulations across the world. I will not explain everything. I cannot go into every country, but just the most regulation we are most familiar with. First, I will start with European Union, and in European Union we have now CSRD Act. It will start for 2024. Actually, it is starting for 2024 reporting in this year for the biggest companies. Then we will have, because date is still not published in UK. Something similar we have in US and Canada. Dates are still not, actually for Canada we have date, but in the United States this is still not published when it will start. But very often companies, especially bigger companies, thinking on investors, they are starting to record emissions. Then further we have in India, we have in Australia, New Zealand, and as I said, I don't want to limit only on these few countries, so there are much more regulation across the world. And some of these countries are countries where Microsoft has official localization, Microsoft-based localization. In some others, we have partner-based localization. But we wanted to make something ready enough for even for partner-based localization so they can continue easily to build their own localization on top of that. Now, let's focus what is, let's say, the primary focus for Microsoft, because the most of Microsoft localizations are in the European Union. And now I will briefly focus on what is the most important for these countries to comply, as there is a new regulation behind the door. We have mentioned CSRD, new act. This is related with European requirements for the most of companies. This is non-financial public disclosure, and this is connected with ESG or environmental, social, and governance. So, which companies will be affected? Right now, with current situation, that means before new enforcement, approximately 11,700 companies, a little bit more than that, are affected with this regulation. But with new regulation starting from the next year, more than 50,000 companies across the European Union will be affected with CSRD rules. So this is really important because there are a huge number of Business Central customers, and they will need to report sustainability for CSRD. Now, before I continue, I just want to explain shortly the difference between sustainability functionality embedded inside the Business Central. This is for SMBs, and on the other side, Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability or Sustainability Manager. What is the main difference? Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability or Sustainability Manager is intended for bigger enterprises. This is a great solution, a really great, amazing one, but on the other side, let's say 80% of our customers are in SMB, small or mid-size size. And for them, it will be too complicated to work in a different environment, very often different environment, too complex to track all these things. So we decided to build something relatively easy for tracking with a well-known user interface. That means inside the Business Central, and it is planned for SMBs. Now, let's look in a time frame and companies in the scope. First, some information about CSRD existed before this year. And we started to track this earlier. This is not something we started to track this year. And why we decided to deliver now? Because all these changes are starting with this year. You can see from 2025, but this is for reporting, but it will be applicable for this year. This is for the biggest companies listed on stock markets. So we can still say this is not our focus. Business Central is not a solution for this size of companies. But what is our focus? Main focus is something what is coming in 2027 for reporting, but that means we must tracking for 2026. And in the middle, you will see 2026 for reporting, but that means you need to start to track this information from next year. What is about? This is for, let's say, a little bit bigger, larger companies with more than 250 employees. So this is still not maybe our main focus, but we have a lot of companies there in this segment. So we wanted to deliver some minimum valuable product until then. So these bigger companies who are using Business Central, they can start track their sustainable emissions and to track them and to record them. But our main focus is to deliver in next 4 waves what is really mandatory to have for our SM, especially smaller companies with more than 10 employees. So you can see if this is more than 10 employees, the most of our customers will be affected with this regulation. So they must track their changes from 2026, beginning of 2026. Now, when we talk about Business Central sustainability, let's see what we can track and what we can track actually, how far sustainability journey can go. In total, sustainability journal will start with recording, reporting, but reducing, removing, and replacing. This is full sustainability journey. But Business Central cannot deliver everything. So we are focused in our first waves to record and report. It doesn't mean maybe we will not extend in some moment to maybe to even reducing with some ideas, with some recommendations, maybe, but now we are focused on recording and reporting. Now let's look in our strategy and architecture. Before we go technically, I want to explain our strategy scope for this first wave. In this first wave, we will focus on greenhouse gas emissions, and we will support 3 emissions with the biggest impact. Carbon footprint, but also methane and nitrogen dioxide. We will not be limited only to them. This is what we have right now in this scope. It can be extendable by you as a partners. It can be extendable potentially in the future by ourselves, but this is what we are supporting right now. But when we talk about scopes in greenhouse gas emissions, there are 3 scopes. And first scope is actually what company reporting. This is about internal company transport, some company pollution, and so on in company facilities. Then we have scope 2, and scope 2 is indirect. So comparing with previous one who is direct, This time this is indirect scope, and it comes from upstream, and this is mostly connected with power plants, steams, some similar invoices you will get from your vendors. But then there is the biggest scope, scope 3, indirect scope 3, and this is reserved for upstream and downstream activities. You will see there's purchase goods, sell good, transport, business travels, many different types of sustainability topics you need to track. Now let's look in a process flow. As I said, this functionality is multi-wave investment. That means we didn't make everything in this wave. This is multi-wave investment, and the idea is to have minimum of valuable product before we start the following year. So this minimum valuable product will be finished with the next wave. So let's see what we have in this release. In this release, we deliver a foundational part for sustainability, so everything will go much easier further, because this is the most important. If we do not have proper foundation, we cannot continue with further development. First, what we have for tracking data, we have sustainability journal, and we have both of types. We have recurring journal and we have standard journal. So if you have recurring emissions, you can easily use recurring journal. Of course, there are journal batch, journal template, everything based on a standard we are using for other journals inside the Business Central. Then we have some categories, subcategories, but connected with a chart of sustainability account. You can see the name. This is still chart of account, but we just added chart of sustainability account. The same structure, but just different things. We don't measure some financial impact, but we measure our emission impacts. We have these connected categories and subcategories. I will explain a little bit more later for which they are intended, and we have different calculations and formulas, so we can easily calculate our emission if we do not know exactly amount of emission. And then, yes, all of them, they will go to sustainability journal lines, and once when we have them, we can use standard posting procedure. Everything we finish is sustainability ledger entries from where we can report. Right now we have some standard reports there, but in the future we will add some regulatory reports as well. What we will have more on the top of that, it will come probably in next 1 or 2 minors. We will enable all these entities through APIs. So this is important. So we do not want to limit partners or customers to use only what is inside the Business Central. Yes, we have, I think, a really good foundation. We will extend it with more functionality. Our ISVs will add probably much more on top of that, especially about industry specifics. But if you have some external source or external solution and you want to connect with Business Central, it will be really easy to connect through APIs. So you can continue your development inside the Business Central or outside the Business Central. About foundational parts, what we have inside, I will just briefly explain, because Volodymyr explained much more in details through demo. First, where I will start? I will start with Contoso Demo Tool. Why I start with Demo Tool? Because we added sustainability module in Demo Tool. We think this is a great beginning how to use it, because sustainability functionality in general is pretty new for all of us. For us in Microsoft, but for you as a partners and customers, this is a relatively new topic, and very often you cannot show all these details. You cannot understand, maybe we cannot understand sometimes. And because of that, we decided to make good sustainability demo data module, so you can immediately start, especially if you want to present to your potential customers, so everywhere, you can easily start with that and you can show everything what is inside. You will have chart of sustainability accounts, but I just need to emphasize, this is not some regulation based, this is just demo, just for demo purpose. You can use this for tracking, but you can short it if you want, if you don't need all these details, but you can even use 10 times more data there if you need. So this is just our vision for demo purpose. Then you will have already configured categories and subcategories there. You will have already sustainability journals with already populated lines, so you can easily understand how to use it, and you will have already posted sustainability ledger entries, so you can immediately start from reporting. You can run the report, you can show what is inside. So I think we have this great demo data. Then Let's start from the beginning. We have sustainability setup. In sustainability setup, you can configure different unit of measure for different sustainability needs. For example, you will have 2 units of measure, one for regular tracking data, but tomorrow when you have enforcement reporting, maybe it will come in 3 years, depending from country to country, and right now you do not know if you need to report in tons or kilograms, and you just started to track, and you are tracking in kilograms, and maybe regulation will be that you must report in tons. You can just choose different unit of measure for reporting, and you will have factor, so you can easily translate there. You can find some rounding, decimal places, mandatory usage. For example, you can use mandatory country or region or responsibility center if you want to track if your company is in different countries, if you want to report based on different facilities. Then further, you can block or enable some functionalities. My colleague Vladimir will explain this in demo, so I will not go so deep in details. If you look in a chart of sustainability accounts on the first side, you will see that it looks as a standard chart of account. This is just for sustainability needs. You can track different emission types, and what we have there, we have for each of accounts, you have category where you can determine which kind of scope you want to track with this account, then which kind of emissions you want to track there, because you are not forced to track all 3 emissions. You can choose based on this on every account you want to track. You can decide if you want to track only, for example, a carbon footprint, or you want to track all of them. Then even further, you can add type of calculation, because if you do not know right emission amount, you can use different calculation, so it will be much easier for calculate what you need to report. And in sustainability subcategories, you can add emission factors based on emission you want to track in categories. In journals, as I said, this is relatively easy. This is standard journal, just for sustainability purpose. You can track, you can record all your emissions. You can relatively post. You have different type of entry data. I mentioned a few times, if you know your emission, you can choose manually input amount, and you can enter your emissions manually. If you do not know, you can, for example, you know your car, your distance, or fuel you consume, and formula will calculate automatically based on emission factors. Yes, we have batch per scope. You can configure batch to be per scope, but you can use as a common. And we have some good tools for checking if you have some potential issues, but Volodymyr will explain more in details. About reporting, and this is the last I will show you as introduction. This time, yes, we delivered 3 reports. You will see total emissions, emission per facility, emission by category, but what we can say about them, you will see Excel layout here on the screen. All these 3 reports are first made to be by Excel layout, and default layouts are Excel layouts. RDC exists, but Excel layout will be by default. So we are looking in Excel layouts much more serious, and we want to start, especially if you want to not to make document. If you just want to check some statistics, some entries, this is much better for you for using. And as I mentioned, regulatory reports are still not here. This is something what will come in the future. So now, Volodymyr, you can continue with your great end-to-end demo, so people will see everything, how it's looking in practice.
Thank you, Alexander. Yes, let's start by generating some demo data. And as Alexander said, it is part of our Contoso demo data model. So let's go here and choose sustainability model. As for all other models, we can generate just a setup data or generate it all, like setup data and transactions. So let's generate it all. And then, yes, we want to post some journal lines to get some entries to explore our features. So yes, now we have demo tool executed. Let's jump to sustainability setup. Here, we set up basic settings like unit of measure, decimal places, some validation parameters, some error handling, and some reporting, rounding, and other parameters. From here, we can also set up our account categories that we will have a look a bit later, and subcategories. Also, in the same way as in other areas, we can set up journal templates and journal batches, both like normal and recurrent journal templates. Now, let's have a look at chart of sustainability accounts. It has the similar structure as chart of general ledger accounts with totaling and heading and posting accounts. And also it has, of course, some default flow filters, date, dimensions, responsibility center, so you can use it to filter the totals. And yes, each posting account contains some basic data, some balances, and some setup data. Where setup data is category. Let's just have a look at category. So here we define our scope, we define calculation foundation, and then we define which emission do we want to report. So this information will be used in a sustainability journal to calculate your emission based on whatever foundation you have. This formula is extendable, so if you have other needs, you can extend it. On a subcategory, we define our emission factors. Those are also used in calculation in journal. Now let's have a look at journal. Our journal is done in the same way as other standard BC journals. Batch, lines, background error check that shows you the lines with errors. So now, yes, and also some setup information that you can see here. So now let's try to post. We get an error, right? Let's try to correct it. I know it's this line. So our emission section is empty. So let's see what this line is about. So this account is emission scope 1, calculation foundation distance, and we see that it is CO2 and CH4 that has to be reported. Let's just enter some mileage in here, and our emission is already calculated here. So we can post this line, but we can see that next line is missing unit of measure. This is purchase services, so let's add hour. And then we also see the error that it also needs some emission to be specified. Since this line has manual input checkmark, we can go ahead and enter our emission directly into the line. Now we post. And yes, now we got this information in sustainability ledger entries, same way as in GL functionality. The last thing to show is our reports, which are available from chart of sustainability accounts. We have 3. As Alexander said, we decided to go with Excel layout. RDSC layout is still there. You can use this one, but our default now is Excel. So let's just run this one. And open file. Yes, some security warnings. And now you see we have nice pivots and charts. So this one, for example, shows you permission per scope. You can play around with it. This one has some slices, so you just can filter, do whatever you need. And this one contains some nice charts with total emission split. Yes, we have 3 reports that you can play around. And I guess that's it for this demonstration. Alexander, you want to take it over?
Yeah, thank you, Vladimir. Before we close this session, I just want to wrap up what we have here. That means first, we deliver these as a first foundational part. functionality is still not everything what we will deliver. So this is multi-wave investment. Then what we deliver right now? We deliver sustainability chart of account, nice functionality. We have sustainability journal, and using different categories, emission formulas, and so on, you can easily use manually data you have, or you can use this format to calculate your emissions. Once when you post all this information, you finish in a ledger entry, sustainability ledger entry, and you can use a really nice, great reports in Excel layouts. Even you can easily extend, add additional charts if you need. So we think this is the right direction for reporting. And what you can expect very soon, APIs, so you can easily connect with this solution from any outside solution. Now, before we close this session, I would like to invite you to come to our Yammer group, aka MSBC Yammer, to have open communication with everything, not only about sustainability. Yes, we have sustainability channel in this in our Yammer, but we can talk about everything. Join our additional conversation on Twitter, actually on X, some other social networks. But what I will definitely suggest, if you see that something is missing, definitely, as I said, this is foundation, so probably some things are missing. And we have our backlog, but we are counting on your feedback. We want to hear from you what you want to get more in sustainability. Not limited to sustainability, but please, about sustainability, go to AKM, MS, BC Ideas, and just send us idea. We will evaluate all of them. We will discuss on Yammer about these ideas, and we will make future scope together. What we think is missing in a system and what you think is missing. Again, I will ask you to join on a monthly office hours. So every month we have interesting topics, and if you cannot remember all of them, just try not to forget this one on the bottom, aka MS BC All. So you can find all resources there, so you can easily find all these nice URL for getting more information, more resources. Okay, now on the end, I can just say thank you, and I hope we will see you live on Q&A session.